Bonsoir tout le monde. Welcome back to Tom Plays Europe Universalis 4 for absolute beginners. We're back with France. Ooh, and Burgundy is making claims on us. Okay. Right. Okay, before anything else, just going to right click on Aragon and start building a spy network there. Because I do want to start having claims on land all around us so that we can pick and choose who we attack, and so that if anyone attacks us, we're in a position to fight back. Okay, but yeah, so basically we're in a slightly dangerous position after the last war, which is another reason why I finished it a bit earlier than I would normally have done, because our armies are very small, having lost an entire army to Aragon. That's quite unusual. Normally they would retreat, they must have managed to trap them. So we're going to need to start building our armies up as soon as possible. Okay, bullion famine, yeah, there's not enough gold, that's fine. We're not likely to be able to help with that, at least in France, because I don't think we have any gold. So at the moment, we're going to be doing a lot of diplomacy. We do need to build spy networks, but we also want to work towards annexing our vassals. So we're starting on the smallest one. This one is only one province, so it should be an easy one to annex, and that should at least get rid of our too many diplomatic relations. There are other reasons to annex them, but this is one of the main ones for now. We also need to get rid of this loan. So, repay loan. Repay. Right. That's repaid. Okay. As soon as we get a diplomat back, we want to finish the ongoing agenda that we'd agreed to with the clergy. Get the Pope to like us more, but until then we're mostly going to be trying to rebuild the army. So I might even go a little bit faster. Our money is quite low, actually it's not that low anymore, because we're still coring a province that we've just taken from Brittany. Oh, that's fine. We'll get this. There's just someone cancelling military access that we agreed to earlier. But yeah, I kind of feel like I glossed over the peace treaties a little. So hopefully next time we win a war, I'll go into a little bit more detail on them. There's, we basically just went for the recommended terms, but there are a few things you can do. You can force people to release nations that they've previously conquered. One that we might consider for Brittany is to force them to become our vassals, but we'll see. It would enable us to take the whole thing at once without quite as much of an issue, but then we might not. We're certainly not doing that while we've got too many diplomatic relations, but we'll see. For now, right. Okay, so this army has rebuilt itself. It has 19,000 people. So let's try and make a second army that's just as big. So I'm going to just start with some infantry because we don't have that much money. What we do need to watch is that we don't end up with so many troops that we can't afford to maintain them. So just building 5 for now, but I might even slow down slightly. Although, actually, money-wise we're doing fine, so... But we do need to build that back up as soon as possible, because a lot of the countries around us will see a small army as weakness. And they're more likely to attack us, and Burgundy especially is very likely to attack us. Them being our rival. Conversely, we might want to consider attacking them. So we're going to have to face them sooner or later, unless we're lucky enough to accidentally get them. There is an event where the Duke of Burgundy dies, and there are a few options for who will be the successor. However, at the moment, because they're our rival, I don't think we have as much chance as we might have. So in some ways, it's even more important for us to take land from them before it gets given to someone like Austria. this is something I haven't particularly covered, is the concept of a supply limit. When you have an army, let's take this one, and you're thinking of moving them somewhere, if you hover over a province, you get this concept called supply limit. If the supply limit's smaller than your army, the army will take damage while they're there. So you see, we're fine here because we've got a supply limit of 25. Oh, that's fine. Military access, no problem. This place would be fine, but terrain would not be. So you expect to take damage if you're in enemy country, but in your own country you really don't want to. So it will put a limit on the size our armies can become, and it will also dictate where we keep our armies. Often your capital, which in our case is Paris, is the place with the best supply limit. So in this case I was rejecting these three. Oh, that's fine, that's a vassal. I was rejecting these three because their supply limit was less than 19, and I want to get... Oh, brilliant. Burgundy's fighting England. Well, that makes things a little easier for us. And I went for this area, Montpellier, because supply limit of 33 is actually better than Paris. Cool. Okay, right, let's build a couple more troops. So ideally I want to get this army the same size as this one, with exactly the same makeup. But keeping an eye on our money, which at the moment is pretty good. We've got to bear in mind that we are saving a bit of money by having the forts mothballed. I may unmothball them soon, actually. There are advantages to keeping them active. I think if they're modern, it actually helps with your army tradition. That's fine, that's one of our vessels. So actually, because we are doing quite well, I think I may bring them back online. We'll just see how it goes. But certainly with a rich nation like France, ideally I would rather have the forts active at all times. Permanent taxation system. Brittany wants military access. I don't actually mind. Well, we don't have any actual choice, but it's giving us some extra tax, which is good. Nevers, I think they're a vassal of Burgundy, but if Burgundy are currently fighting England, then that's fine anyway. So, yeah, I mean, even though in some ways I feel like we've got off to a slightly weaker start than I'm used to as France, we have a much stronger Scotland, which is kind of nice. So one of the things that Scotland is going to be very valuable for potentially is we will be able to arrange to land our troops in Scotland before declaring war on England, and then we won't have to worry about the English Navy. We can literally just fight our way down here. But we'll see. We don't want to just victimise England. One of the things about France... Ooh. Have a free diplomat. Brilliant. Let's try and deal with the Pope. Let's hold that thought and deal with the Pope. So I'm going to try and improve relations. Cancel military access, that's fine. Okay, one of the things about France is that they're generally one of the 4 large colonial nations in Europa Universalis 4, Castile, Portugal, France and England. France and England especially are also great military powers, but when it comes to the colonies, we're likely to be competing with all 3 of the others. There are other nations that colonise. Scotland, in fact, is also one, as are the Netherlands, I think, once they form. Assuming they form, but they almost always do. But yeah, to some extent, our strategy is going to rely on being mean to these 3 nations. So we're going to need to punch our way across to Portugal at some point. You'll note that at present we are allied to Castile, so that's not about to happen, which is why in some ways I wouldn't mind taking some land from Aragon, because usually, yes, Aragon is a rival of Castile. so they shouldn't mind if we attack Aragon. But later on there may be an Iberian wedding event which will join the two together. Siege engineer, so we can spend money to gain military power effectively. I would say yes. It's worth it. It has put us into debt, I think, which is unfortunate, but it's fine. Right, finished coring Nantes, so this has appeared. Might just slow things down again now. This flag here allows us to make states. It's generally a good idea. It makes them easier to administer, it reduces corruption. The number of states we can actually have is limited by our administrative technology, and it does then force us to core it again as part of a state. But I think it's worth it. You see, we've now also got some provincial unrest because we've taken some land. It's one reason I kind of left an army here. But yeah, the whole of Brittany is a state, so we won't have to make a state again for any of Brittany's lands. Occupied by England. Brilliant. But anyway, right, so... Oh, that's a papal state, yes, of course. Right, we should be able to make a claim in Aragon now. You generally need 20 for the first claim. We have 31.80, so the obvious place to go would be the place connected to our land. Start there, but we will, I think, be able to make some claims down the coast. So we'll probably try and claim a few things. We may not attack Aragon. It's going to depend on the allies. At this stage, I really just want to have claims on everything. Every potential enemy. Might not risk the papal state at the moment. Even though I suppose... Well, yeah, that's likely to make them hate us. Speaking of, right, so we've just finished improving relations with him again. It's still not enough. We need him to... We need the papal states to have an opinion of us of plus 100. That's 87, so I think we're going to have to send them a gift. If it will let us when we have a loan. It will, right. So this is the amount we're giving. And this is how much it'll improve our relations by. I think we need a bit more than that. But I think that should be enough. So we'll give them 50 ducats. And there we go. We've completed the estate agenda. So that's given us an increase in our yearly papal influence. And the clergy is more loyal, which is good. Okay, I've got a relative who is being naive. So we either execute him, losing prestige, or we ignore him, but we may not be able to pick up spies. I think it's better to let them off at the moment because we've got such low prestige. So let's go for he is a relative after all. But okay, the Pope is now okay with us. We might have the option of a new agenda. We do. And we can also seize land again. Likely to cause an uprising. Let's do the agenda first, because maybe if we pick the bourgeoisie we can make them more loyal. Right. So we have to pick one of these now that we've gone for it. The clergy wants to build a church, which is something we do actually want to do. The nobility is worried about the depletion of our manpower reserves. I agree with them, but the problem with that is it can stop us going into war if someone drags us into one, and it will seriously slow us down, so I'm a bit reluctant to do it. Plus, they're very loyal anyway. The bourgeoisie wants us to increase our commercial presence. Again, I don't think we're in a position to do that, so let's go for the magnificent house of worship. They're often a good option. It'll give us more tax in Montpellier. So, as soon as we have enough money to build a church, we will do that in Montpellier. Which means we probably need to hold off on building our army again, unfortunately. Still, never mind. Right, so we've got another free diplomat. So let me just check. Provence is currently our ally. So we don't really want to be attacking them. Could we attack Burgundy? We could. There's only one place we can take, but we could attack them. So these are all of their vassals. That's quite a lot. And they've also got an ally in Milan. Also, no one would join in with us at the moment. I think mostly because... Okay, Scotland is too far away. But Provence and Castile, they don't want to join another war because they joined us in with us in attacking Brittany. So I do think it's worth building a spy network. We've got one claim, but we could probably manage at least a couple more. We share some borders. And they're going to be quite a tough fight with all those vassals. So it's perhaps worth... Like if we do end up fighting them, we may as well get more out of it. I think we may have a historical event where we get a claim on Milan. So it might even be worth holding off on any actual wars until that fires, just in case we're able to do it. The problem is, I don't know if it's going to be worth the risk while they're a member of the Holy Roman Empire. So if the Italian states leave before the event happens, we'll certainly go for it. If they don't and they're still a member, might not be worth risking. Nice that it would be to get Milan as a vassal, because they're quite big. Yeah. It's not worth having a coalition, because we'd then probably be forced to let go of them straight away. Okay, so even though this is at maximum opinion, there's sort of some opinion behind the scenes, which is why they're still improving relations. So we don't necessarily want to stop this just because it's hit the maximum. It is actually going to stay at plus 200 for longer because we're leaving it going. Plus the trade dispute. Actually, this is something we need to fix. We should be issuing trade embargoes on all our rivals. It's free to do to your rivals, and it increases our power projection, and I don't think we've done it yet. This is me being forgetful. It's not the end of the world, but it wouldn't hurt. So we'll try and do that. Okay, so we've got this alert now for province improvements. So we want a church in Montpellier. And as soon as I say that, something else happens. Right, the Renaissance has fired. We are going to cover this in a second. But let's just leave it for a second while I get this church on the way, because it will take a while to build and we need to do it before the time runs out. So this is where we want it. So just leave it building. There we go. So that will generally increase the tax in that province, which will be good. It'll give us more money. We actually do want to build some of these churches because, as well as the extra money, if you look at our mission tree, once we gain high income, we then have this mission, which needs at least 5 churches and at least 5 workshops. So we are going to want to build at least 5 churches. And the fact that we've been given it as an agenda is perfect, because we'll gain some additional benefits from fulfilling it. Okay, so institutions. These are related to technology. There shouldn't be much of an issue in France. But this is the technology screen, which you'll have seen us selecting things from earlier. Basically, as our administrative, diplomatic or military power rises, we eventually gain enough to gain a new technology. These are generally positive. We will find that we have benefits or drawbacks to the cost of gaining the new technology though. So here, we're actually getting we're hurting a little because we haven't embraced the Renaissance yet. This is making it harder for us to learn national ideas. So this new institution has arisen, the Renaissance, and because we don't yet have it as a part of our country, we are suffering a penalty to gaining new technology. Diplomatic technology, because we're still a bit further behind. We're only on tech level 3, whereas the other two are on tech level 4. We actually have a plus to gaining it because our neighbours are ahead of us. We never want this on military. That's very dangerous. Anyway, to actually look at the institution, you can click on this little book. It shows where it started, which is here, Bologna. And it sort of shows how it's spreading. So it has actually started in a lot of our lands. I think that's because France has very rich lands. So it would likely fire in a lot of European capitals as well. But generally you have to have quite developed lands. So if you look at the world overall, this is one area where Europe tends to have a big advantage. And that goes for a lot of institutions. So we'll often end up with a technological advantage. In France, we will probably find that many of the institutions will naturally either start here or they'll grow more rapidly enough that we don't really need to worry about encouraging their growth. But it is possible to track it here. And we will find that there are some penalties until we embrace it. Embracing it will require money. We can't do it yet because we don't have it in France anywhere, but once it appears in France, we'll start getting a cost of what it will take for us to officially embrace it. So it's worth gaining some money. But we've taken the first step to that because we've got someone happily working on a church, which is brilliant. Right, we've got above 25. The cost of fabricating a claim on a country goes up by 5 for every claim you already have. So 25 should be enough to give us a new claim on Girona. Might leave it at 3 claims and then we'll get our diplomat back. So next time we'll need 30. And I'll probably pull the diplomat out and start them working on something else. Possibly one of our next moves is going to be to annex this vassal, which we won't be able to do until 1454, but we are in fact nearly there. So that should be fine. Neapolitan succession. Right, I think this is to do with Naples being a vassal of Aragon. It looks like they're no longer a vassal of Aragon. I think it's more a personal union than a vassal. So we may find that Aragon is about to declare war on Naples to try and get it back. Because it doesn't look like they now own it. I suppose we'll see. It'd be worth knowing, because if they do declare war, it might mean that after, 5 years of war, it'd be a good time to attack them. For one thing, because they'll already have dragged their allies into the first war, so their allies might not want to join in. And for a second thing, because they will be fed up with war and already damaged. On the other hand, we need to remember that our army is still not up to strength. So I need to focus on building that up. Let's keep that going. Okay. A little annoyed that we've still got a loan, but I wouldn't mind at least increasing it a bit. Burgundy still at war? Yes, they are. So I'm right-clicking on them to get the diplomatic screen. Let's see, Burgundy attacked England. Fair enough. Can't really object to that. I do the same myself. It's good though, because it means Burgundy is unlikely to attack us, and so is England. And hopefully they'll weaken each other. Maybe we can strike as soon as the war's over. Don't worry then, the crossed swords usually indicates a battle's going to happen. But of course we're not involved. We've just given one or the other of them access through our lands. Okay. Although their army being there means our army's taking a bit of damage because there's not enough land, not enough produce in the land to support both armies. So we briefly had little skulls, which is what happens when you're taking attrition. Thankfully, Burgundy has moved and they're now fighting on England's soil, or temporarily England's soil. Right, we've got a new alert. This is a government reform. This is another mechanic. Basically, as we gain reform power, I'm trying to remember what it's actually called, but this stuff, we can gradually start raising the tier of our government. So we have to make choices. So to start with, we were a feudal nobility. I've got a choice now between strengthen noble privileges or curtail noble privileges. There are advantages and disadvantages to both. Personally, given what we're trying to do as France, I think we should be curtailing them, which will give us more tax. So I'm going to go for that. It also reduces their influence on the estate screen, which is something we definitely want. We're also going to want to see some land soon, but maybe we should build this army up a little more first. Okay. I think we should be able to make a new claim on Burgundy any second. We'll need 25 because we already have a claim here that we got naturally. So there are 2 places we can claim. Clergy are being greedy and indolent. The commoners are now withholding the tithe. Right, so we can force the bourgeoisie to pay, or we can give them a mild reprimand. Force them to pay will give them more money, but the clergy are more loyal than the bourgeoisie. If we force the bourgeoisie to pay, we might have a rebellion on our hands, so we're probably better off with a mild reprimand, especially because we're about to fulfill a mission for the clergy. So it's better to be nice to the bourgeoisie at the moment, I think. Right, I'm going to go for Cambresis, simply because it gives us a bit more access up here, but we can make a 3rd claim on Burgundy, so I'll leave the spy network going for now. Let's bring this together. So we still only have 9. So that's a new cardinal showing up. It looks like Burgundy is actually winning the fight against England, which is interesting. Alright, brilliant. So we've finished that church. So the clergy has gained some loyalty and we've gained some tax, which is fantastic. So how is... Yeah, the bourgeoisie still isn't all that loyal, really. Still, I wonder if now might be a good time to claim some land. I'm going to make a general. So we're going to recruit a new general. There are a few options. Not a big fan of giving a ruler or the air military command unless the ruler's really awful and you want rid. But we're going to recruit a general, which will cost us 50 military power. You'll note that this is only a 1-star general, not as good as the ones we started with. We need to work on that, and I'm now going to make myself unpopular by seizing some more land. Okay, so it looks like we've got some Catholic zealots have risen up. One of them, for some reason, has attacked the English, which is brilliant. That really could not be better. So the English are putting down our rebels for us. The other one's in Paris, and Paris has a castle. So I think we're good. So I think we've got away with that. So we now have 38% of our land. The reason I'm seizing land, as well as it giving us some benefits, although we also have some temporary drawbacks while their loyalty recovers, is I want to start adding some privileges which will give us benefits. We'll go into them when we're in a position to add them, but this is the idea. We also want to get rid of one. This is one that allows us to have so many vassals, and unfortunately it does make the nobility more powerful. So we do want to get rid of this when we can, but we can't at the moment. We would need to have, I think, 4 less diplomatic relations. Speaking of, we should be able to start annexing this vassal now. So if we stop improving relations, wait for the diplomat to come back. This is our option. Start the process of annexing your vassal. It upsets the other subjects, does give us prestige. I think it will hurt our diplomatic reputation, which is a bad thing, but it can't be helped. We need to do it. So we're basically going to make this blue, make it part of natural France, and it will also mean we'll stop losing a diplomatic point per month. But yeah, diplomatic reputation is here, quite important. but I have a feeling this will drop once we annex a vassal. We'll find out. Might take a bit of time. Oh, this is always bad. So basically we lose a stability either way. We either get stronger missionaries and a more loyal clergy, or we get less technology costs and a less loyal clergy. Although I don't like losing clergy loyalty, we don't need missionaries right now. Everywhere in our country is Catholic, so let's support the philosopher. We've lost some stability, but the reduced technology cost has meant we can immediately get the marketplace, which is good. So we can now build marketplaces. Okay, fantastic. Alright, I'm going to move this army back over to Maine for now. Great, Burgundy really is going to town. Maybe speed things up a bit further. So you can see we're tracking the percentage of this annexation now. Quite lucky then actually, because all the rebels that arose when we seized some land were in the north, so we didn't have to put any down with this rather smaller army. I'm trying to decide whether I want to build the army up fast or whether I'd rather get this loan paid off. Loans actually do cost money on the finance screen. Just the fact that we have a loan is costing us interest. Plus it can raise our inflation if we have to renew it. So okay, lost a couple of our truces. Might mean the truce with England will run out soon. So yeah, that's quite a cost really. Maybe we should pay the loan off first. At least our overall army isn't too bad. We're almost up to where we were, it's just our individual armies are unbalanced. Oh, this is good. So we've got a relationship to Julius Caesar. We can either gain legitimacy or gain prestige. We've got much less prestige than legitimacy, so we should go for that, especially as we gain more. 10, so that's brilliant. That is what we need. Okay, we now have enough to do a third claim, so I'm going to go for Barcelona. Less interested in the islands right now, and we can now pull the spy out, but I would think we're now ready for a fight with Aragon should we want one. Although we would be breaking a truce right now. But hey, if you're joining on Brittany's side again, maybe we can take some lands from them, even if it isn't all of it. Okay, fine. Brilliant. So we've got a diplomat back. So what do we want to do with the diplomat? Maybe we should actually work on trying to build more claims on Brittany. Or should we? Should we? Actually, we've got Rene. Maybe, if I just stop that, maybe we could look to vassalise them. In which case, what we want to do instead is get ready to annex one of our other vassals. So I think Bourbonnais is probably the next smallest. So let's improve relations with them. Need it to 190. Brilliant. Right. Hard to say, really. Do we want to vassalise them? Because if we vassalise them, we then have to annex them, and we've already taken one chunk of land, so they only actually have 5 left. We'll see. See how I feel. In a bit. One thing we definitely need to do, sooner rather than later, is start doing trade embargoes, which I've managed to forget all over again. Just fantastic. Once this gets to 30, we can do our final claim on Burgundy, and oh, Scotland started war. They haven't dragged us in this time, I notice. Hopefully they can win. I think they only didn't take Ulster last time because they got embroiled in our war with England, which I do feel a little bad about. Maybe that's why they haven't dragged us into their war this time. So we should be able to free up a diplomat any second. Okay. More cardinals, not ours though, so we fabricate a claim. Final piece of land, which is here. We've got 3 claims on Burgundy now. So, attacking Burgundy would actually be an option. On the other hand, if we end up with that event firing for Milan, we may end up fighting Burgundy anyway. So, in the meantime, let's try and do some embargoes. So it's just economy actions, issue embargo. You should generally do it on all your rivals, but not do it on anyone else, because it costs you money if you do it on a non-rival. But our rivals are England, Burgundy and Austria. You can't do it to someone you have a truce with, so England may not be an option. But we should be able to do it for Brabant. For Austria as well. I'll just confirm that. And I think England, we won't have the choice until the treaty runs out. Not treaty, the truce. So there's our truces. This is truces. Truce of England expires in 1458. Cool, that's fine. So, in the meantime, who else do we want to do a spy network on? I suppose Savoy is an option. We did have a claim before because they were excommunicated. But that is no longer the case, so let's start building a spy network. They are currently part of the Holy Roman Empire. Oddly enough, the Holy Roman Empire isn't willing to join in. Because this is the other thing, the Holy Roman Emperor in theory is supposed to protect any member and can even drag in other members. So you do have to be very careful declaring war on someone in the Holy Roman Empire. Worth bearing in mind, right? The Papal State has become the Papal Controller. So we should, ideally, put in another 5% towards becoming the next one. Funny really, because they put us and England down as 50%. I don't remember the Papal State having any chance, but they must have put something in later, which we didn't see. Not a problem. Those are the actions they can take. And call for a crusade or excommunicate. Neither of those is that useful for us. Excommunicate maybe, if we can. Turns out that the Pope doesn't like England or something, we could make it easier for us to attack them. But a crusade, we're not really close enough to any non-Christian nations right now. That's not something that we're going to be too concerned about. Yeah, still got a truce with Aragon. Truce with Brittany, that is fine. So mostly we just want to gain money. Try and get this loan paid back. Okay, let's speed things up. Not the most action-packed episode. Okay, what have we got? Portugal would like military access, that's fine. Burgundy would like military access. I'm half inclined to say no just because I don't like them, but it's fine. Brittany's cancelled their military access. So has Portugal just joined in the war? Well, that's good. Yeah, please drag it out as long as possible. Okay, so we've finished integrating the first of our vassals. We've lost our too many diplomatic relations. And Burgundy has made another fabricated claim on us. So if we right click ourselves, you see our diplomatic reputation has taken a big hit, -3. So when we annex the next one, this does recover over time, I think. I think it's temporary. But temporarily that is going to affect us in a really bad way. I think it makes it harder for us to make claims in war, harder for us to bring allies in. Just hurts our standing in the world a bit, but we can't help it. We need to annex these people. So, not something we can do anything about, unfortunately. Okay, so who else is there that we could theoretically make claims on? These are vassals of Burgundy. I hadn't thought about this actually. When we had a spy network with Burgundy, we could have made claims on their vassals. Discovered England's spy. And most of these are vassals. Provence is our ally, so we don't really want to attack Provence. We could make a claim on the Papal State. Do we really want to? Possibility. Navarre is a vassal of Castile, and that is fair enough. Okay. Might be willing to make a claim on the Papal State. Only this one piece of land. Not really something a good Catholic should be doing, but our status as a good Catholic is always a little questionable. Especially as time goes on. Right, let's put the money up again. Put the speed up again so we can try and get money. Slow things down a little. Scotland are attacking somebody else. They're really getting into attacking Ireland. Feel like they're creating a monster by backing them up. Oh well. Okay. Oh, brilliant. So we can gain money or we can gain 10 prestige. Even though I really want money, prestige I think is more valuable. So let's spend it generously. Should ultimately give us more money anyway. We can now make a claim on Savoy. So we'll just claim the 2 pieces of land we can actually reach. Still kind of wondering if we should hold on for this event with Milan. Revolt. Oh, is this the... Oh, it's the Charters. That's surprising. So, local autonomy is a bad thing. It basically means we don't get as many taxes. Local unrest is also a bad thing, but I think I might risk it. Because it's got a castle. It's quite close to where our army lives. I think we can put it down. Okay, standardised packs. Now this is an interesting one. Because we should get a new alert with this one. Some military technologies actually give you a new army unit, which you can upgrade to automatically. You do need to be careful though. The morale of the army, which is what determines who wins in a fight, it's actually here in green, little bar. When we change our troops, we've got 3 options. I tend to just go for the one which makes the most sense. So to me, that's kind of more Scottish or Scandinavian. That's kind of more English or Welsh. This is a more generic one. So I'm going to go for this one. See, the morale has dropped enormously. If we got in a battle now, even with a much smaller army, we would lose. So you have to be very careful about doing that. You can take the military tech, but you mustn't change your troops if you're likely to be in a battle. Oh, I've forgotten this. When we annex one of our vassals, we actually get their troops. So we can join them onto this army, which should help us a bit. So yeah, the morale will recover, but it's definitely something to do in peacetime. Now declare war on Portugal. That's fine. Ooh. I think we can fabricate a claim on Avignon. Okay. That's good, because I didn't really want the Pope to catch us spying on them. Brilliant. Right. So we could, as an option, maybe take that land as well. What we're going to be looking for is weakness in any of these countries that we have claims on. Okay, well this is good. Oh no, forget that. Let's so we'll have to spend some administrative power and we'll have to spend some money, but it's worth it because we will gain yearly prestige for a while. So, perfect. We do have a diplomat, so how about we start improving relations with another vassal? Even if we're not about to annex them, it can't hurt to have good relations. Lost our first advisor, so we'll just replace them. Look for another +1. This is good. Philosopher, yearly prestige +1. That's arguably the best option you can have for administrative. It's certainly worthwhile. Prestige is quite important. And it's not that easy to get it high and keep it high, so any help we can get. Found their spy. We've had to retake a loan, you see, which has increased our inflation, which is not good. Lost another general. That was our other good one. I'm gonna hire another one. Actually, we've got a 2-star again. That was lucky. Right, I think this is our last claim on Savoy. So we'll do that. So we're actually completely ready now, except that we don't have enough troops. Oh, this is good. Right. Starting to think we need to wind this up soon, but national ideas. Right, so we get a new administrative tech, which actually opens a completely new option. So this is another tab next to technology, and we have the option for 8 of these national ideas, and they basically allow us to form the type of nation that we want. They're not affected by the negatives we get with institutions. We need the same administrative, diplomatic or military power to raise them, but they're not affected by us not embracing institutions, which means they're a good one to have if you're quite behind on an institution. Now, we have a lot of options. I'm not going to go into them in detail. There's plenty of stuff on the internet that explains them in massive detail, but we're a little bit stuck in the sense that we're partly a military power, partly a colonial power. As a colonial power, unlike Castile and Portugal, we're really too far away from the New World to really start colonising straight away. So a colonial power, I would go for exploration ideas from the outset. But as France, and also as England, probably not a good idea. It's probably not worth it taking as your first idea. Maybe your second, but not your first. So for the first, I'd rather go for a standard military power one, which is administrative ideas. The big advantage of this one is this second idea we can get, adaptability, which allows us to create cores for 3/4 of the cost. So it will actually pay for itself in the long run in terms of administrative power, because making a province a core costs administrative power. So we're going to go for this. It's worth noting, it'll take care of itself, but as we start to get these ideas, we'll also start to get these specific ideas for France as well. I always think that these are the real national ideas, so we'll get a double advantage from these. But at the same time, we may not want to get these when we're in a good position for getting technology instead. It may be better, like once we've just embraced the Renaissance, I may stop picking these. But we'll see. We'll see how it goes. Right, if I just spin on a little further so that this gets to 190, we can start annexing them. Oh, brilliant. Right, so this is what I was waiting for. The Milanese succession. Milan has fallen into political chaos. So we can gain prestige, or we can gain a restoration of Union Casus Belli. I'll go for the restoration of Union, even if we end up not making use of it. We've got another opportunity to get a Cardinal. Who is this from? Diplomatic insult from Provence. Probably not worth risking when it's an ally. So if we were to actually attack Milan, who would help them? Austria, Burgundy. You see, this to me isn't looking very good. Because they're still part of the Holy Roman Empire, Austria can bring a bunch of allies in. So at the moment, I'm not keen. It's worth keeping in mind, especially if we see an event saying that they're no longer part of the Holy Roman Empire. But while they're in there, it may be too dangerous to attack them. I'm not sure we can take on all of these people. All of these are quite small apart from Burgundy, so the minute they leave the Empire, if Austria is no longer protecting them, we could go in and get them. What this would basically allow us to do is make them a vassal. Even though they're not sharing a border with us, we could go in and make them a vassal just like these people, but a much more valuable one. I think they've got 6 provinces, so it'd be well worth having, but it's not worth it if we don't have a military power to push it through, basically. So, okay, so we've reached 192 with Bourbonnais. I'm going to start annexing them. That's going to send our diplomatic reputation into the gutter. But it should give us a few more troops, which would be good. I think the main thing we're going to need in our army is going to be cavalry, so I might build another cavalry. I appreciate I'm completely failing to pay off these loans. Maybe I should consider mothballing the force. But anyway, I think that should probably be it for today. Once I've just issued an embargo on England, which of course I can't do. Okay, who are we improving with? Orleans? I do want to get that trade embargo gone, because I have a tendency to forget, as you may have noticed. So let's just issue it. For the record, you can see these embargoes in the shield in the trade screen. So people have embargoes on us, we have embargoes on other people. This should always match our rivals in the diplomacy screen. So we've got 3 rivals, 3 embargoes. That's how it should be. And it gives us... I'm going to actually say what effect it has on our power projection. I think we'd have to hover over power projection. There we go. +1, +2, +1. Perfect. Okay. Right, I'm going to stop there. So we've got vassal being annexed. Same vassal currently improving relations, which we may not need. We really could do with getting rid of this loan, but we also want to build our army up, just in case we want to take Milan. But realistically, I kind of feel like it's too early. I don't know. Maybe Austria will let them go. It's whether we want to refrain from attacking any of the other nations on the off chance that they're going to leave the Holy Roman Empire and we can take them. It would be worth it, I suppose, but we've got a lot of conquering to do as France. But in any case, leave that for next time. So, yeah, thank you for watching, and I'll see you then.